Hello, welcome to my submission video for AGDQ 2019. In today's video, I'm going to be showcasing Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus 100%. And we're just going to be getting started right off on here. Instead of starting from new game, we're going to start from load game, and I will be getting into why that is here in a second. But we're just going to jump right in with a little bit of explanation of what 100% in this game means. So in this game, every level in the main 4 hub worlds has 3 objectives to complete to 100% the specific level. There's a treasure key to collect, which is at the very end of the level, and then there are bottles scattered throughout each level that, when you've collected all of them, give you access to a vault at the end of the level. And unlocking that will give you a power-up. And then after you've collected both the key and the vault in a level, you gain access to a time trial mode, for lack of a better term, called Master Thief Sprint. So you must complete all 3 of these objectives in order to gain 100%. And it's not every level. Some of the levels are like minigame based. So, you have to, like, shoot some crabs, or shoot some treasure chests to, collect them before crabs do, or, do a race or something. In those levels, there are no bottles, therefore there are no Master Thief Sprints. This level, first off, starting up here, is Stealthy Approach. This will have all 3 objectives. However, you'll notice in all of World 1 and World 2, I will not be doing the Thief Sprints until the very end. And there's a reason for that I'll be getting into a little bit later. But for right now, basic information is they're just really slow to do right now. And I'll be getting an ability later that makes it a lot faster. But we will explain what that is when we get there. So, those are the requirements for 100%. And then the last world, you just have to complete the world, complete the levels. Well, you have to enter them. We do still enter one level and then skip it. We enter it and then come back out and skip it, because that's still faster than doing that level, which is quite funny, honestly. But that's not until much later. There, I failed the cutscene skip. It's a little tricky for me in 100% to do that. I don't know why. I just have weird angles sometimes when I come in there, so. But yeah, overall, I think 100% is a fantastic category for this game. It certainly adds another huge dynamic to the run and routing purposes, and routing with when you want to do Thief Sprints. We want to wait, come back to do them here, but later on we do them fine. How you want to order them and whatnot. We'll get more into that, like I said, a little bit later. But I really enjoy this category because you're always doing something. There's always something to be looking at as a spectator. What little downtime there is still gameplay-based segments. So there's nothing silly about it. And even though there is a little bit of backtracking, at the midway point, like I said, we have to come back and do these Thief Sprints later. And then from that point on, these sprints you do directly after you do the level. So it's kind of like playing the level a second time. However, with the Thief Sprint, you can just go all out. You don't need to collect any bottles and do anything. You just need to reach the end of the level as fast as possible. So even though you are, in a technical sense, playing the level a second time, I personally feel that it's like you're getting to play any percent, or well, all keys rather, and 100% at the same time. It's really nice change of pace, and a really neat take on backtracking. Because generally backtracking is very boring and not something that's too entertaining to watch, or even to play rather. However, this game, I think he does a pretty good job. So there, all that the game needs to confirm that I have opened up the vault is the autosave to pop up, so I can do some fancy little maneuvering there to give myself a little extra time to pause, or just immediately press the select button to bring up the view map, to skip the cutscene, and end up in a much better position to run to this level than I would be otherwise. So, another thing to go over, just rapid fire information here at the start. There are a handful of abilities in the game. There's about 7 of them off the top of my head, and then you get a modification for each of the abilities. And then sometimes you'll get modifications for abilities you don't get. Oops, I missed a bottle. That you don't get through other vaults, but you get them through defeating bosses. And then other times you get like the blueprints, each area's levels, and what the blueprints do is they show you where all the bottles are and all the breakable objects are, in case you miss a bottle or you're really looking desperate for some coins or something. I'm gonna grab this one up here because I died an extra time earlier, and I would rather not die again. So here we're gonna be using our first ability, Dive, to make this cycle. You can make it without Dive, however Dive makes it trivial to hit the cycle, so it's really good. Now, Dive, you only really see it used here. Unfortunately, the majority of the abilities that you do get aren't very good for speedrunning. Dive, like I said, has its one use there, and then and the only reason why there's no other use for it is in this level we unlock the second vault in vault progression, and I'll explain that in a second. And the second vault is roll, and roll makes you go really fast. So we're speedrunners, we like to go fast, but I want the ability that makes me go really fast. There's an even better ability for going fast that we'll get into about 40 minutes from now, or well, more like 34 minutes from now. Yeah, angle can be a little tricksy sometimes. There we go. So, like I was mentioning a little bit ago, the vaults are unlocked in a progression sense. So this vault right here in my playthrough is going to be roll, but if you were to play this game yourself, this vault could potentially be the last power-up you get in the game, the stun ability, if you wanted it to be. So your second vault will always be roll. Your third vault will always be slow, and then your fourth vault will always be an upgrade for dive, where you can use it from the air. The only thing that interrupts this unlocking chain of power-ups is the level's blueprint layout. The third vault you unlock in every world will always contain the blueprints. No matter what power-up you're supposed to be getting, it will always be the blueprints. So that's kind of how the vault system is taken. It's pretty neat. It does hamper routing a little bit. Kind of means you just do the levels in a specific order because there's no reason to otherwise, but there's nothing wrong with that. So now we have the roll ability, and like I said earlier, the roll ability makes you go very, very fast. Might not look like it right now, but especially when you're going into downhill sections, you'll really notice it. Right here. Nice and fast. Here, I don't need to worry about tripping the alarm. Even though I'm a thief, it's actually faster to trip the alarm and then just break it. You would think you'd get some kind of penalty for that, but, you actually do in the Master Thief sprints, the little time trial things I was mentioning we'll be doing later. I don't know why I slide it. There we go. If you trip the lasers, the timer actually will go at double the speed, and that stacks. So if you trip 2 lasers, it's 4 times the speed. And you are very sad, because those are very, very hard. If you do them, you know, the fair and balanced way. You know, but we're speedrunners, you know. We have some tricks up our sleeves. The Master Thief sprints are honestly some of the most entertaining portions of the run, which again is odd considering it's basically just backtracking. You wouldn't think that it would be entertaining. Now, some of the more astute people would have probably noticed that I missed a bottle. I missed 4 bottles, in fact. And that was all on purpose. It was so... I didn't have to backtrack from over there by the key to come back and get this. After, you know, or before I would even hit the key, and then have to go back all the way over there to hit the key. I hit the key, and it saves my progress. It saves all of the bottles that I've collected up to that point. So then I can come back over here, and I can do the same thing I did earlier and stealthy approach the first level, and skip having to listen to what Bentley is telling me about that page. So that's all the interesting quirks about 100%. Like I said, the majority of the abilities don't get really showcased, unfortunately. You see dive once, and then you see roll a bunch, and then you see roll immediately. Whoops. So much autopiloting. You'll see that roll will get overshadowed for the remainder of the run after that, like, 40-minute mark or so. No. I don't know why McCain missed that guy. It was very unfortunate. Use some fancy momentum tech there. Get up here early. Well, not get up here early, but skip having to go back down and around. So, a big thing about these levels is, for the most part, at least from me, a lot of concentration is kind of required. So, for some of them, not all of them, but there are a few levels where I would prefer to be a little bit more quiet, not as talkative, which is always good. Downtime in the commentary for marathons is never a bad thing. Unless it's, like, forced, or it's caused by cutscenes and things like that, but... when there's still something to enjoy during the lack of commentary, I feel it's fine. I'll be trying to reflect that in my my submission video this year. And if there's a level that I feel I need to concentrate heavily on, I'll make a note of that, and I will be a little bit more quieter and not really explain as much. That's why I kind of tried to rapid fire information really quickly, so that I could have those little periods of downtime. I didn't need to keep trying to jam pack in commentary absolutely everywhere.
So far, so good. If you stayed still inside the barrel, the guard won't be able to see you.
That will, however, be more prevalent later on. But here there's a lot of fancy sequence breaking. So a lot of the routing for 100% isn't necessarily in the hub worlds and the order in which you do the levels. A lot of the routing comes into play in the levels. This level here, for instance, there's at least 7 different ways, maybe even more than 7 different ways that you could do this level. And all of them are either just as fast, or, you know, only a few of them are a little bit better than others. Out of all of them, this is the fastest. but it's only by a few short seconds. And I really love that about this category. Now, obviously, this is one of the more open levels.
With the help of a straight edge and compass, the
So there is a bit more openness. There's a bit more opportunity, rather, to allow for things like that, but... Whereas some of the more linear levels, that was really sad. I don't need that charm for anything, but... It was silly, nonetheless. Anyway, in some of the more linear levels, you don't really have a choice. You kind of have to follow the set pathway, but... Yeah, I kind of glossed over it. I wanted to make sure I didn't mess up any of the gameplay there. There, to skip the cutscene that plays when you unlock a vault, instead of exiting the level, or simply view mapping out of it to another level, I loaded the game, and the same thing works with loading the game as it does for exiting level and whatnot. All you need to do is see the autosave, and there's actually a special property with load game, in that whenever you load a file in this game, anything that is done during the fade out, the fade to black, that would trigger an autosave, is copied onto the file that you are loading. Well, it's not copied, but it's considered as having been done on that file instead of whatever file you were doing it on. However, in this case, I'm loading the same file that I'm running on anyway, so the progress is still made on the file that we're running. But if I wanted to, I could put it on any file, which is a neat little quirk. There's a lot of broken things you can do in this game with files and whatnot, which conveniently enough is a fantastic segue into why we start from a loaded file now. And we've started from a loaded file now for a few months. It's a new addition to the game, and essentially the reason why, kind of a shorthand version of it, is the loaded file that we're starting from has made no progress into the game whatsoever. The only difference is that it has watched the cutscenes, the animated cutscenes that played before each level, when you select the portrait and whatnot from the hideout, and then the one that plays after the tutorial section. All 6 of those animated cutscenes have already been marked as having been watched, so you can just press the skip cutscene button. I don't know why the skip cutscene button wasn't just in the original game to begin with, or not in the original game, but why it wasn't just allowed from the get-go, why you have to have had watched the cutscenes prior, but whatever works, I suppose. There's no fancy tricks that we can do to skip having to watch that cutscene. It's not very long, so we just kind of have to deal with it, unfortunately. Now here, earlier I mentioned minigames you have to complete. This is the first minigame that we will be seeing in 100%. Essentially the core mechanic behind the minigames is there's a task to complete, and once you have completed the task, you are awarded a treasure key. This one's not that great. It's kind of fun. From a spectator standpoint, it can be kind of spooky, in the sense that at any point in this, I could just lose. The objective here is to break these chests. I have to break 40 of them, and I cannot allow a single one to be taken by a crab. If the crabs take them, then game over, man. Game over. It's not too bad until right about here. It can happen at any time. You can mess up and miss shots and whatnot. It doesn't really get too terrifying until right about here, where there's 4 chests down at any time, and these crabs are coming from every which way and where. But we got it, we're good. Nothing to worry about there. And just like that, we're already up to our first boss fight. Getting ready to go in and fight the first boss. So even though I've been, 100%ing all these levels, pace has just been fantastic. Going out of your way to collect all these bottles and such, and still doing it pretty speedily. Not quite as speedily as any percent though. Any percent would be here about 15 minutes ago. But all keys would have been here around 13 minutes, so not a bad pace. Although we haven't been doing the thief sprints, but the thief sprints don't really take that long. Like I said, you get to just blitz through them, so it's always good. Now, as for boss fights, there are 5 of them in the game. Every hub has a boss fight. This first fight is Raleigh. There's not too much to report here. He's a frog. He gets really big. I smack him around a little bit. Pretty much it. He jumps 5 times each for the first 3 phases rather, out of 4, and then he shrinks down, and then you hit him. If you hit him while he's jumping back up to the top there, you can save a little bit of time. Honestly, I'm gonna not do that anymore. Kinda just did that out of habit. It doesn't save nearly enough time to be worth it in a marathon setting. Jumbling over all of my words today. There we go. Now, this last phase, I have a golden charm, and I only need a silver charm in the next level to perform a skip. So, I'm gonna use this gold charm here. It's in this phase early. And just go ahead and leave. Because I don't need to do anything else with him. Need to beat him up. So we're good to go. We can just go straight away into the second hub. Now, normally, there would be a cutscene that would play here. You saw a little bit of it there. That's what the file, starting from the file, allows us to do. Normally, you'd have like a minute, 20-second long cutscene there that would just be this god-awful speed bump in the run. You just take away from the whole experience. You just beat a boss fight, had a little bit of downtime with the reset. You just want to jump right into the next level, keep going, keep the train moving, and then you have to watch this stupid cutscene. And it was quite the not fun time, but it's the standard now for all the categories, and it's very easy to set up and do. There's no like, and there's like one weird hoop you have to jump through, but other than that, like one little weird hoop, it's very easy, and even that hoop is pretty simple. Unlike this cutscene skip here. Nah, just kidding. I had to set it up. No, I've had problems with that jump in the past with this category specifically, because the angle at which you come at it is different than any percent and all keys is, because you have to go over there to the right to get those bottles. So it sets you up with a different camera angle, and you would think it wouldn't matter as much, just having a slight different angle, but when you've done something, thousands of times, one way, and then you switch it up and try to do it a different way, it can be really challenging having just the slightest of difference. You'll notice that there are some bottles up there. I will be coming back for them later. There's also a bottle to my left there, and then there's a bottle right here. I could grab that bottle right now if I wanted to. It doesn't save or lose any time. You can get it now or on the way back. But this is another example of even linear level design having outing potential in it. So the next hub world, like the next overworld, essentially, for World 2, normally in any percent in all keys, as soon as you went through this little load zone here, you would load the game a second time to load warp to the middle area of the hub world. Same thing with Hub 1, actually. In Hub 1, I abused the view map to do the same thing, to just put me further in the level than I would otherwise have been. And the reasoning behind this is it's just really slow to run there. So it's faster to load warp. However, in 100%, you have other objectives that you need to complete. Or you have another objective you need to complete other than just beating the level in the vault. And the vault, as I said earlier, can be really slow sometimes. So as many pages as you can skip, the better. So what we do is we come back, collect those bottles on the way back instead of going out of our way, because now they're directly within our path. And come back, get the level, and then just leave. Simple as that. And right here is where we would have load warped to. So it's just, neat little things. Even though the level is a straight line path, there's some variance in it. I think is pretty cool. Finding unique ways to abuse game mechanics. Manage to save time even when, there's only one defined path. So jumping right in here is the second minigame. And it's a little unfortunate that you have this so close after the last one. Every hub world from here on will have 2 minigames in it, unfortunately. They kind of take away from the platformers here. Game is just as much of a platformer, or just as much of, a fun, kind of Saturday morning cartoon-esque adventure as it is a platforming game. So they kind of shoehorned in as many silly minigames as possible. This one is kind of unique though. It is just, shooter where you kind of just wait around, but all of these guards spawn in the exact same spot. So if you know where they are, you play the game far too much like I have, you know where all of them spawn and when they spawn, so you can pre-fire them and make sure Murray doesn't get scared. Some of them, like that guard, you don't have a choice, Murray has to get scared. It's because of how close they spawn to him. But other ones like that guard, this one, and even this one, you can snipe them early enough where Murray won't get scared. Now we're getting into the good stuff, and I was mistiming. I was still thinking I had to watch lots and lots of cutscenes. We're coming up on that ability I mentioned earlier that was going to immediately overshadow roll. So, and it won't immediately overshadow it. There will be, I believe there's at least one more instance where I will need to use roll, but this level we unlock an ability called Fast, and this, in my opinion, is what really sets 100% in this game apart from almost any other category in any other game. Now, it's not, a game-changing mechanic. It's not a super crazy ability that lets you, jump around and do all this fancy tech. What Fast does is it makes the game run at twice the speed. Now, on surface level, it might just be, oh, whatever, you're just playing the game twice as fast, oh boy. But until you've truly experienced trying to play a platformer at double the speed, you really don't know just how awful it can be at times. And by awful, I mean skill level required to handle the things that are thrown at you. You already have a very limited amount of time that you can react to certain things in some situations. This only gets amplified when you cut that time in half. So, these enemies, their attack goes at twice the speed. You're running down this hill twice as fast. These roulette wheels are spinning. Right now they don't have any hazards in them, but they will later. Later on, there's enemies you have to fight that are directly in your way, and you have to do all this, even the tricks that you have to do. you need to be using fast the whole time. There are some tricks that I personally don't feel need to be done in double the speed, because they're just extremely difficult as it is. But for the majority of the playthrough from here on, so long as I have access to the ability, minigames still, well, some minigames still lock it. Other minigames, if you are, we'll go with masochistic enough, to want to do them at twice the speed, the option is there. Luckily for everyone, I am indeed masochistic enough. Definitely a showman for better or for worse. So I'll be giving it my best attempt to do this against my better judgment. But yeah, it's gonna be some interesting stuff here from here on out. And you know, you see the timer. It's we're only 30 minutes in, and my personal best, which is the world record for this category, is 1 hour and 53 minutes. So for the next hour and 20 minutes, I would say a solid 85% of that we'll be doing this. But it'll be fine. I'm a trained professional. As you see here, you really do go really fast. There is one and only one downside to this, gameplay mechanics wise at least, and that is during the Master Thief sprints, the timer actually ticks down twice as fast too. It's not joking when it says everything in the world goes fast. Guards go faster, the swaying of objects goes by faster, Sly's animation and movement speed go by faster, and timers go by twice as fast as well. So you have to really be on the ball with managing your time, because casually, some of these Master Thief sprints, anyone who's played this game casually can attest, if you're not doing the fancy stuff, some of them are next to impossible, it feels. Even if you're not doing the fancy stuff, even if you're doing like some of the fancy stuff, you know, it's almost like they expected you to know how to do some sequence breaking in the level when they designed them. When you can beat all of them casually, it's just really hard. It almost feels like you needed that, you know, extra little boost of exploring the game world, which is cool because I actually knew some of the strats before I came into running this game. Before I even looked it up, I actually knew a handful of the things that were done in the any percent run, simply because of trying to do Master Thief sprints as a kid, and then as like a teenager when I would continue to play the game on my own time. It was kind of, it's not humbling, but I don't really know the word. But it was a cool experience nonetheless to see some of the things that I had done growing up, making it into the run, and being what, you know, the best of the best do. That was really cool to see that. So I didn't really explain anything here. I kind of glossed over this. This is just a race. You drive forward, you collect boosts, go fast. There's really nothing exciting to report here, unfortunately. Later on, there's another race, but that one doesn't take quite as long, and you'll see what I mean when we get there. Gotta leave some stuff up to the imagination, you know. Can't give away everything. Alright, so from here, obviously we've only seen a little bit of fast. I was just running to a level, but here we will be we'll be seeing full on the 100% complete effect. No pun intended there, I guess. Of the fast ability. Now, I don't do this trick with it. For me, it's a little hard to line it up when I'm doing everything really, really quickly. But from here on, ooh, that is really, really bad. I hate when that happens. I mean, it's not like, you know, a huge thing. I just fell down, had to just jump back up here, but it's just obnoxious more than anything, really. But this will be the first level that we do entirely with the fast ability. And it'll really kind of showcase just how quickly I have to do things, especially when I'm jumping around a lot, kind of sporadically. That's not me trying to do anything fancy or anything like that. It's just, it's how you have to play the game. You have to change completely your mindset and focus really heavily. And that's why I said earlier, some of the later levels would be where I would be needing to focus up more, rather than the beginning levels. Because trying to commentate and not miss things when you are playing like this can be somewhat challenging. Like I said, there are some things that I don't do with fast. I used to do that with fast a lot, and then I just lost the ability to do it. I would sit there and I would practice it, and I couldn't do it anymore. I don't know what happened to me. Here we're gonna do a pretty cool thing, and there's some really cool routing in these later levels with fast. Throughout the levels, there are various points where Bentley will start talking to you and explain, you know, a mechanic about where you are in that level or something. During these periods of time, whether Bentley's talking or even like a boss is talking over like the intercom or whatever, during these times, you cannot use the fast ability. I guess it would have just been too much. Whoops, that was... I don't know what I was thinking there. I can still skip the page, but I have to watch this tiny little animation here. I can just load right now. But, I guess it was just too much of a hassle to include, like, speeding up the dialogue or cutting the dialogue out in general, so they just lock you out of using, fast. They don't lock you out of using any triangle ability. However, if you have an ability that you cannot use, like fast or slow, active, you only have one ability selected at a time. If you have one of those abilities selected, you cannot switch off of it, which is kind of silly. Overall, I would say for the first level, that didn't go too horrible. The major thing that went wrong in that level was me messing up the thing before I even got into the level, so... here's another one. That one's not as... No! I still triggered it! That's sad. If you jump to the right there and hug that one building, you can use fast this whole way up to this cutscene. It's a very minor time save. So messing it up doesn't matter. Not a huge big deal or anything, but that's what I'm referring to with not being able to use fast. At least I guess I got to show that off. So small silver linings, I suppose.
A girl whose best friend's a firearm's got issues. A little dinner, a little dancing. I think I can help you out.
Sounds romantic.
Get introduced to the Sly and Carmelita dynamic here. Normally this would be introduced in the tutorial section, however, we just jumped down and skipped it. Here's another linear level design that has a neat little twist on it with 100% having to... Oops, that's later on in the level. Having to, you can go a little out of your way, do some of these portions of the level you would just skip normally. That clothesline is actually very, very poorly programmed. If you press the jump button, the instant that Sly latches onto it, you'll actually just fall through it entirely. You'll just fall through it to your doom, which is it's very sad times.
Good thing I know Navajo code talk.
Yeah, it gets
Try 5, 3,
the game is very, very crazy and sporadic for the remainder of it. So I love it. I can't gush enough about this category.
Oh yeah,
But no matter how much I love this category, and no matter how much
notes pertaining to
I show it love and care and compassion and all this jazzy stuff, it doesn't play nice with me. It does its best to make me miserable, unfortunately. But that's fine. I'm okay with a love-hate relationship. And, the love-hate being I love it and it hates me.
I'm gonna hunt you down, Cooper. You can't run forever.
Oh, Carmelita. You'll never catch Sly. He's just too fast for you. That time the pun was intended. And don't worry, I am just as upset at myself about it as you are probably upset with me about it. Gotta have a little fun every now and then, though. Alright, so this level, not as flashy as it is in the other categories in terms of skipping huge portions of the level. However, it is really flashy in the sense that you do a lot of the level, and there's cool stuff like that, like canceling your fall animation after hitting the bottle and still maintaining the speed, and cool stuff like that, and super cool and exciting stuff like bouncing on these aprons. Nothing not exciting about that. And then we just skipped that huge portion of the level. I may or may not have been a little deceitful there, but it's all good. It's all good. Alright, that portion of the level was a little weird. Now, those bottles can be very obnoxious, especially if you miss one of the top ones, because your only solution there at that point is to reload the level. That's never good. Now I'm gonna try, and I think I'm perfect. 99 coins. That is exactly where I want to be at. Now here is the point. Not yet. After this next boss fight, we'll be going back and doing the Master Thief sprints. And the reason why, like I said earlier, much earlier, we do them later is because it's simply just that much faster to do them now with fast than it is to do them earlier on with roll. Even though it does make them a lot harder, well, it makes some of them a lot harder. It's the trade-off. You gotta go fast, as Sonic would say. Now with those Master Thief sprints that we'll be doing, these, there is a set route for Hub 1, depending on how Hub 2 goes, or regardless of how Hub 2 goes, there's a set route. And then Hub 2's route is dependent on your coin count there. So if you end at 94 to 99 coins, you can do straight to the top, the one where I did the super jump. I need to explain that. Where I did the fancy jump from underneath the car to hit the wrecking ball early. You have that coin count, 94 to 99. You can do that level directly after the boss fight. If you have anywhere between 80 and 93, you do the level 2 to Tango, the one where you're chasing Carmelita. Or you're getting chased by Carmelita, rather. Like, it wouldn't be quite nearly as fun if you were chasing Carmelita. Maybe for Sly, but, And then if you have less than that, you have somewhere between 60 and 80, you do Rocky Start first. And then from there, the level order is pretty much the same. Basically, you need a charm in order to do the strat from straight to the top. So you want to do the levels in such a way that you end a Master Thief sprint with enough coins to not have to coin farm, essentially, or straight to the top. That way you can just immediately get a coin charm in the level. You don't gotta worry about it and waste time. But those will be coming up right here. And the Thief sprints are exceedingly terrifying because at any point, anything can go wrong, and you can die and you can lose lots of time. Now, hopefully, I'm good enough at the game. Nothing bad should happen, but should it occur, that is, you know, sad time. Alright. Now what super jumping is, to explain it pretty simply, when Sly lands on the ground, there is a 6-frame window where you can jump off the ground or you can jump off of the ground and not update Sly's ground position. So he will stay as having been considered in the same spot, and I you to the wrong level. And the game will think that you are in the same spot, even though you are not. You're moving. If you swing your cane before you land on the ground or in that 6-frame window, you can trick the game into, or it gives you a lot more frames, essentially. It ups it almost to a full second of additional time, which is always good. Makes the trick infinitely easier to perform. See, that's what I was worried about. That's what I was worried about. When you enter a Master Thief sprint, you don't have a charm unless you collect a coin charm. So if you already have one, it takes it away. So you're just one hit away from death. Later on, you get abilities. Like you saw already, I have an ability where I don't die to water damage. However, I don't have the Defy Gravity page yet. In fact, that's 2 times. That's a little frustrating. I don't have the gravity page yet, and it's not faster to wait until I get the gravity page to come back, because it's extra menuing that I have to do in the hideout and things like that. So I don't know why I had so many issues with that. It's very frustrating, but the show must go on. I'm not gonna let it dictate the remainder of the run, although it is sad and will cost us an exuberant amount of time. I have to move past it. So, moving into here, like I said earlier, you get to do all the really cool strats from the other categories, you know, from any percent and all keys, in these levels. And it's, even though it is backtracking, and I did play this level earlier, it's like I'm playing it a brand new way, even though like I said, played it earlier. Now see here I have the waterfall page, so I don't die. It does waste a little bit of time. There we go. Having to watch that long, doggy paddle, or I guess raccoon paddle in this instance, animation, but at least I didn't die. Now, these roulette tables are awful if you use the fast ability. Normally, there's a very, very, very small chance that you can actually clip through them when you jump and like you land on them. There's a very small chance that you'll clip through the thing and die. However, if you use fast, it seems like it's exponentially higher of a chance. Now that cutscene isn't there because I already watched it earlier. when I came through the first time, so I don't have to worry about trying to avoid it. However, if I did avoid it earlier, I would have had to have avoided it here. And this level is very terrifying without a charm. Normally, I would get a charm here, but I died, so I got some extra coins. And another thing, any charms that are in the level that are picked up normally for free, all those go away too. It's only coin charms that you get. Normally, I would be a little bit riskier here, and I would go for a jump if I had the charm. Try to jump on this mattress and get up here without killing the dog. However, since that level went wrong a lot, I didn't really have a choice, and I have to play it slow. And in that jump there to the ladder, sometimes it can just fail. So lots of things can go wrong here if you don't have a charm, and this is the longest MTS in this world. Luckily, the one that we did mess up was one of the shorter ones, but we did mess it up at the very end. So, or not the very end, but like the midway point. So we did lose quite a bit of time. Hopefully, I can play World 3 and 4 a little bit better. Stop beefing it so hard, he says as he almost runs off of the level, and then barely misses a jump and almost gets killed by the dog. I'm just gonna go ahead and grab this charm as early as possible. I don't know what is with me tonight. I'm gonna go ahead and jokingly blame it on the fact that I haven't played any video games yet today. I'm hanging out. But no, it's really I'm just messing things up. There's nobody to blame here but myself. That's okay. Sometimes we make mistakes. So now that we're done with all of World 2s, we will be going on to World 1s. And considering I messed up the route a whole lot, I'm actually going to change up my level order here a little bit. If I have a charm in high class heist, I can make that level go by a little bit faster. I can save a couple seconds from the drowning animation, or from the raccoon paddling, as I called it earlier, animation. I can save a few of those seconds if I have a charm. However, if I don't have it, it's all good. There's another level that can go very, very horribly. Just gonna go ahead and get it out of the way here, so it doesn't happen. If any of these alarms spot you, because we haven't been using the roll ability, we're barely gonna make this. Like you see right now, it's counting down very, very quickly. So if you trip one of those alarms, you don't make it. As I mentioned earlier, the alarms move twice as fast when you've alerted them. So the reason why I'm doing these levels instead of the high class heist level is there's not a whole lot of coins in that level. And even though these levels don't really have too many coins, any amount helps. Even if it's just, you know, 15 extra coins, it'll help boost me up to that number that I need. Honestly, I'm sitting here thinking about it. Oops, that is not the correct direction. There we go. Here's a pretty cool trick. Normally you have to run on that wheel, as I did earlier, to make the ball come all the way down here. However, the ball is just considered, or the glass is considered a breakable object. So the mine can break it instead. I was contemplating trying to do a new trick here. Yeah, it's not gonna be worth it. I shouldn't have done that. I doesn't end up wasting more time. There's a trick in this level where you can get a proxy in between that bookcase and the pillar there, and it will take you straight away to the end of the level. It's about 11 seconds faster than doing this the intended way. However, since I would slow down and not use fast for that, it would probably only save a couple of seconds. But since I was a little bit far behind, I hesitated and thought it might be worth it. But in the end, I just ended up wasting more time anyway. But anyway, I'm sitting here, I'm looking at my coin count. I don't think I'm gonna hit the required amount of coins that I need. In that level, there's about 15-20 coins in that level. Well, I could do it. However, normally I would have 2 charms. I would do this level first and get a charm. There's a lot of coins in this level. I'll do this level first and have a charm here for safety, because this level is very, very long, and dying at the end of it is extremely painful. So normally I would do this, have a charm, and then I would do the other level later and have a charm for it too. I'm gonna sacrifice a couple of seconds of time save in that level to be a little bit safer, considering pretty much everything has gone wrong. Everything in that Hub 2 MTS that could have gone wrong went wrong. Luckily, Hub 1 has been very nice so far. It's actually been pretty solid, realistically, minus the weird route that I had to take. So, I mean, I did mess up the one level a little bit, trying to discern if I wanted to do another strat. This is another thing. Normally, if I didn't have a charm here, I wouldn't do this. Even if I did use the charm in the other level, I would still lose a little bit of time here to not doing that. So either way, I was going to lose a little bit of time being a little bit safer, like I would in the marathon. So gotta do what you gotta do. These vents, I don't mess with them with the double speed as well. Because if you're not pacing yourself correctly, you will get hacked up. We in the business say. Now you don't need to be too careful with whether you trip these lasers or not. In fact, I'll be tripping these lasers here. And I'll be switching to roll here, not because it's faster to switch to roll, but because it's safer than trying to deal with those guards. And just like that, we skipped having to do all that extra platforming that I did earlier. And that's what I was saying. I think I've already done that a handful of times without saying it. Really creative ways to, make the backtracking more interesting. Getting to do some strats that not only are, specific to other categories, but sometimes are specific to just doing the individual level run itself. Normally, you wouldn't be able to do that because you would have to run up there to break the key case. However, since all we have to do is hit the loading zone with any portion of Sly's character model, you're just good to go. We'll be abusing that quite a lot in Hub 4. That jump can be... I was gonna say that jump can be a little finicky because the enemies in this area are little noxious mosquitoes. And then I proceeded to die to the tree enemy because his hitbox, when I did the first point of damage to him, the head explodes off the body, and the head exploded off directly into me. So I died. I need to pay attention. The next time I pause the game, going to look at my life count and make sure that I'm gonna be good enough to do some death abuses later on. Otherwise, I'll need to try to do some shenanigans. I might have to do some fancy level routing to keep my gold charm. Whenever you have a gold charm, every 100 coins you collect is an extra life. I might have to do some fancy level ordering here. Do some thief sprints a little bit later, so I can try to farm up some lives. Because like I said, most everything is going wrong.
The circle to enter the vault code. If I did my math right, and electrified! Kelly McCooper's notes on how to harness the electromagnetic field created by a rolling raccoon. Now
Again, this is another one of those instances where it's not faster. Skip the page in any way. There is actually, there's a couple of ways you can, in fact, skip this. However, because this is the first one of this hub world, you can't access the hub world. So you have to come up here and unlock this, then enter it, then come back out. Then, you know, skip the cutscene, and all of that stuff ends up just being slower than doing this. Going back in and doing the level. I did not check my life count there. What am I at? I'm at 2. I should be fine. If I die one more time, I might do that. However, I will be not doing 2 of the MTSs here until the end anyway, because of a route change we made in any percent in all keys that I found a way to carry that over to 100% by moving some Master Thief sprints around. Instead of doing them directly after the level like I'm doing right now, I do both of, I do 2 of them, rather, 2 of the remaining 3. I do them later on. And here, unfortunately, because we exit out of this level, we don't get to go to the fancy, or we don't get to go to like the middle part here. We do have to still load to load warp, but you take what you can get. Now, interestingly enough, 100% used to be the only category that you saw the giant snake in. However, we discovered a trick. Actually, someone that isn't even a runner of the game explicitly discovered a way to skip the snake spawning. And not only is that good because snakes are scary, but it's also good because at the end of the snake segment, was a very, very long cutscene that played. Well, it wasn't very, very long, but it was long nonetheless. Ah, man. All these unfortunate things keep happening. But, it's very long nonetheless, so we get to skip that now. Because we just despawn. We don't spawn the snake. And we do that by not getting close enough to the trigger where the snake would normally spawn at. Oh man. At least I had the water page, but now I'm down here again. I have to go all the way back. Ah, everything is going wrong. I apologize for this. There is really no need to be doing this, but basically that's where the skip is. Normally the snake would be following you through this section. Being all big and snakily. Snakey, rather. Snakily. Now, I'm gonna not grab the key here. And instead, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come over here, and I'm going to grab the vault.
Have some personal demons to get the answer.
And I'm gonna load the game to stay in the level, to skip the vault animation, and the vault page. And then I'm gonna come back over here, and I'm gonna do the level backwards, basically. I'm gonna get up out of bounds here, and I'm gonna come all the way over here, and then I'm gonna grab the key. And then I'm gonna break the case, I'm gonna load the game a second time, and I'm gonna do the exact same thing, because this is faster than trying to do anything in, you know, one collective swoop. Or watching the page and then going over and breaking the key. It's actually a couple seconds faster overall, provided you don't mess up one of these tricks a couple of times. It's pretty neat. It's a neat little take on the routing. Alright. So next we have minigame Piranha Lake. Otherwise known as fish, simply. In this minigame, we need to crush 25 fish to light some torches, because for whatever reason, these fish have the unfortunate property turning into flamethrower fuel. And it just happens to be ever so handy when you need to light a bunch of torches for some voodoo magics that are taking place. Now, in tune with the rest of the run, and everything going bad at every possible corner, I'm getting some very horrible fish AI here, kinda going everywhere pretty sporadically. I tried to contain that a little bit at the start by waiting, letting the fish spawn collectively on one side, then going over there and trying to crush all of them. But I did not succeed in my endeavors, and this is kind of my penance, I suppose, for messing up. So overall, that was honestly a very horrible fish. But ah well. There we go. Ah man, you wouldn't know that I'm the world record holder by how I'm playing right now. Anyway, this level is very difficult, so I'm just gonna kind of let the level speak for itself here, and take my time, make sure I don't mess anything else up. Or I could just have a ghost spawn directly on top of me. There's nothing I can do about that. I didn't want to break that tombstone there to make the ghost not spawn anymore, because I would not be able to use the fast ability this entire time up here, so there was a reason for that. It was fine. I had the charm from the start of the level anyway, so. Here, since there's a little bit of a downtime in the level here, I'm going to be doing a death abuse. I'm going to come into this level backwards by doing that trick that I did up there. I'm going to be collecting all of these bottles, and then I'm going to die. And if you saw up there earlier, I hit a checkpoint. There's a little bit of, there was like a flash on the screen from that little object down there. And what that allowed me to do is skip having to do an entire section of the level the intended way, and then it skipped having to jump back up after having fallen down. Saves a good amount of time. The next Death Abuse I have to do isn't until World 4. Ah, man, it's always a heart racer right there. I don't know why they thought that was a solid choice to put that tombstone at the end of that, when you have no control over how the ghosts spawn, when they spawn, how many spawn, or how many spawn, how fast, you know, things like that. And you can only attack your cane so many times, and you almost always get hit there. And the Death Abuse makes it so you don't have a charm there anymore, so there's no safety. But the Death Abuse saves a large amount of time. Honestly, in the marathon, if I was ahead enough, or not ahead enough, if things had been going swimmingly up to this point, I most likely won't do that. I won't do the Death Abuse strat. Even though it does save a fairly decent amount of time, it's not worth risking huge time loss if the run is already going well. Now, I don't know what I was doing there. I'm kinda all frazzled here and need to refocus. I don't need to drop down there and kill that enemy. In fact, all I needed to do was just jump down and go straight into this level. But I missed the enemy that I attempted to murder and lost my charm for it. And this is one of the minigames I was talking about where you can use fast. It is a little terrifying, having to worry about these roosters and pathing with them, and then trying to make sure I don't miss any chickens and things like that. But and this is why I wanted a charm. Alright. So, one perk, I guess if I can find something to look at on the bright side here of dying, is it reset my life count. I game overed, so I should be at 5 lives now. Give this a quick check. I'm not. I must have loaded the game. Well, that's not good. I can game over pretty quickly in the next level. Well, yeah, I can game over pretty quickly in the next level, because I can trigger a Bentley cutscene that I wouldn't be able to use fast through, and then I can just immediately get rid of that. Although, I guess the trick that I'm going to be doing, I don't use fast for anyway, so it won't really save that much time, but it still won't lose that much time. It's 5 seconds jump into level to die. I'd have to do over again, so it's not the biggest of deals. Hopefully, I can continue to pull this back, or hopefully from here on, I can pull this back under reins. Stop having all of this silly stuff go wrong. They'll put on a decent show here for the last 40 minutes or so. I suppose I haven't mentioned it as of this point. Um, this is the first vehicle level, and this vehicle's it's weird. Got some interesting properties to it, how it moves and whatnot. And this level is essentially an auto-scroller. There is a cool thing you can do here at the end, though, where you can get in behind there and shoot that a little bit earlier than intended, which allows you to kind of get a little bit ahead of the ghosts and whatnot. And then you actually take damage on purpose from the ghost to sorry about a little pause there. I wanted to make sure I didn't mess that up. Autopilot and use fast and get myself killed again. But you will use I can't die to the water. Oh man. Throwing left and right here, and then I was worried about the guard, and just everything is going bad. But anyway, when you take damage from the ghost, it prevents more ghosts from spawning for a little while, so you can take the fastest path over to the other tombstone. Now here we do some extremely interesting routing here, where we get to a section of level that you're normally supposed to drop down to early by doing a trick called bone jump. And we do that to get the bottles early, and then we come back around, or we come over here after that to clean that up. And normally you would come through here the intended way, and this is when you would drop down and get those bottles from earlier, instead of jumping out of bounds there. Which I'll have to do again here, but that's fine. Unless I die, and game over, and reset everything in the world. Everything is going bad. Yeah, I gotta stop harping on that. But normally there's a much faster way to do that trick, but having to be a little bit slower here. Remember to kill this guard. Over here, you can jump on some invisible platforms that are just kind of there. And then now we get to do this really wonky jump that actually worked first try. I'm honestly very surprised about. Do a super jump here to get a little bit faster movements. And then I don't need this charm for the boss fight. I would prefer to not have it, in fact, because I need to die in the boss fight. So I'll just go ahead and burn the charm. Make sure I don't get killed by the giant flaming turtle of doom. And we got these fancy pants pillars here. Make sure we don't get hit by them. And here we go. Here are the last two bottles in the thing.
Mind-bending. It's Matthew de la Coupe's perpetual slow motion technique. With this move, you can slow down time whenever you want.
I don't know why you would ever want to slow down time.
Hold down the triangle button to use it.
It's a little silly to me when you think about it. In a speedrun, that is. I can see where it would be useful in person, but in a speedrun, why would you ever want to use the fast abilities? And that's kind of what I mean with some of these abilities just like not being useful for speedrunning. I pressed the wrong button. That's fine, it's not that big of a deal. Alright, so you may have noticed I did not do the Master Thief sprint earlier for Grave Undertaking, and I have not done the Master Thief sprint for Descent into Danger, and that is because I would not have been able to view map out of that level back to chickens or down home cooking, rather, is the actual level name. I would not have been able to do that had I finished the Master Thief sprint. I would have walked out of the level normally. Alright, so getting into Ms. Ruby here. We are immediately going to die. Getting into Ms. Ruby here. Her boss fight is essentially an auto-scroller, for lack of a better term. After this first part. But this first part, normally you would jump down there and just hit her immediately. However, the water from the second phase on, when you land in it and you die, it immediately respawns you into the second phase. So what we can do, if we touch this water, I tried to get hit there and die and get knocked in the water at the same time, give a little bit of time. But if you manage to get behind there and land in that water and then die, the game thinks that there's no possible way you could have died in this water, or even touched that water without being in this phase, so it just immediately puts you in this phase. And normally what happens when you drop down and hit her is a long cutscene spawns where she explains how to play Simon Says. But, Simon Says is a very easy game to understand, so... Otherwise, there's not really a whole lot to talk about here. I would kind of ran out of topics to discuss at the moment for the commentary, and I would probably just be quiet here anyway during the actual event, as nothing is going on. I'm just mashing buttons. So it's a fantastic downtime. Commentary-wise. So here at the end here, there is something to note. Normally there are 3 phases of DDR. However, her hitbox lingers after the second phase, so you can get double hits in on her and make it go by a little bit faster. Everything has gone bad here, so I'm not even gonna try to attempt risking the really fast strat there. Especially not when I had already messed it up to begin with, so... I'm just gonna take it a little slower there. From here on, the level is pretty tame. Nothing can really go wrong, so... I will wait here. You can make this cycle even with fast. However, it can be a little sketchy, for lack of a better term, when you have the fast ability on, so I attempt not to use it. And this is what I mean, when you finish Master Thief sprints, you are forced to walk out of the level. You cannot view map until you get into the hub, and that is slower because you have to do 2 loads instead of just 1. So... here, because I've already triggered the Master Thief sprint cutscene, I can, or the Master Thief sprint, I can break that tombstone without having to worry about the cutscene spawning. Because cutscenes cannot play during these sprints. I would assume it's because they might have expected people to attempt to use fast during these, so they just took that out. But yeah. So, alright. I'm making a pact with myself and you, the viewer. From here on, we have a brand new hub world, brand new possibilities, all that jazz, yada yada, blah blah blah. From here on, no more silly mistakes. I promise. I'll probably break that promise. But, yeah, I mean, at least I'm making it. I'm putting forth an effort to, not mess up anymore. Here there's a cutscene very close to that bottle. So I would like to not trigger that cutscene, because it's faster to go up here, to go back here and get up and out of bounds, than it is to watch that cutscene. There is an alternative way to skip that. You can grab that bottle and then death abuse to skip the cutscene. It's a little bit easier. Or rather, what you do is you just run up and just immediately death abuse to skip the cutscene, and then you grab the bottle afterwards. It is a little bit slower overall, but it is an alternative. For some, it might not be worth the couple seconds time saved to potentially have to watch the 25-30 second cutscene. So. Alright, now here's a little, here's a weird thing. I mean to hit that. Here's a little bit of a weird level, route. So, as you saw there, the vault was in that room. And the remaining bottles are over here, and it wouldn't, it wouldn't be nothing to just, go into the next part of the hub. Get that load zone, walk back in like I did with Rocky Start, and then just come right back in here. However, the last vault in the game, when you unlock the vault, has an extensively long cutscene after it. And that plays immediately after opening it. Now, I did not miss a bottle, did I? No. That plays immediately after opening it. And when that happens, after that cutscene plays, it takes you back to the beginning of the level. And that's not good when you unlock one. When you unlock one that's at the very end of the level, like Duel by the Dragon is, which is the last level that we do platformer-wise. So, we save that one to unlock that one last, so the cutscene can play, and then we reset the game to skip the long cutscene, and then we're immediately right away, we've already collected the key, so we can just jump straightway into the, we can jump straightway into the MTS after the reset. Now here, whoops, get these. Here, there is an interesting route choice. I'm going to do all of the bottles and collect the key on this first go around of the level, and then after this, I'm going to leave, and then I'm going to go and do King of the Hill, which is another rail shooter like Murray's Big Gamble, where you protect Murray with the rockets. And then I'm going to go in and do Unseen Foe in its entirety. And the reason why we're doing that this way, and then after Unseen Foe we come back and do Flaming Temple of Flames MTS, is Flaming Temple of Flames MTS and Unseen Foe's MTS. The fastest way to complete them both require taking damage from a bottomless pit. And normally you would need a charm for that. Well, getting one charm, setting up the coins to get one charm wouldn't be a problem. However, you need to set up the coins to get 2 charms, unless you were to have that anti-gravity page that I was talking about earlier, where it prevents damage from the bottomless pits. Now, conveniently, that is the second to last power-up that you unlock in the game. So what you can do is you can do this one, unlock the vault, and then proceed to Unseen Foe, unlock that vault, which is the second to last one you get in the game, at least if you're doing this particular route. And then that gives you access to the anti-grav page, where you can then do MTS for Unseen Foe, and use the anti-gravity page. And then you can come over here to this level, and use the anti-gravity page for this MTS. And it saves a whole bunch of time, to not having to get a bunch of coins and whatnot, or you know, only being able to use it for one page. And it's really cool. That's actually a fairly recent addition to the route. It's not as recent as the World 3 route changes, but it is pretty cool. I think just adds to the neatness of the game, World 3 we have this really wonky really wonky route. Worlds 1 and 2, you don't do the MTSs, you come back and then do them. And then in World 4, you do a bunch of levels in a very weird order. You revisit a level a little bit later, and so overall it's pretty cool. Now, Unseen Foe, the level that I'm gonna do after this, is another level where I'm gonna be a little bit quieter. I should have been quiet for Descent into Danger as well, but I kind of got thrown off by the fact that I couldn't game over because I forgot that I had the waterfall page. It's something that's so weird, it's so alien. Even if you run the category a lot, thinking, trying to remember that you have, this page that negates one of the biggest, damage sources, I guess. I was gonna say enemies, but it's not really an enemy. In the game, can be quite the hard thing to do. It kind of goes back to what I mentioned in A Rocky Start, almost an hour ago, or a little over an hour ago at this point, where you do something thousands of times one way. You do thousands of runs without the waterfall page or the water damage page. Then you do only a couple a couple hundred runs with it. Kind of hard to break that habit of oh, I need to do a quick game over real quick to reset my life count, so I'm just gonna jump in this water. Oh wait, I have the waterfall page. Because interestingly enough, at least I find it somewhat interesting to point out, I've only been running this category for about 8 months now, I would say. Extensively, at least. I had dabbled in it a little bit before when I first picked up the game, but I didn't really get super into the category until this year. And I hold the world record for it now. Which is something that's kind of cool. We brought the run down as far as I've brought it down. But of course, I am not without recognizing my peers. Some of these route developments would not have been possible without them having helped me out and got me to where I am today, so. Always gotta shout out. Always. What it's all about. This speedrunning thing that we all do. I was gonna try to make the best of that, because I messed up my movements. Or I messed up my inputs, rather. I was gonna try to make the best of that and get those vaults while he was doing his little gloat animation. But the bottle's broke in a weird way. The bottle's actually, the way that they break out of the the little safes. So the tiny things, I guess this is an important thing to kind of go over. The little tiny things that have bottles inside them are called safes, and the big things that have the power-ups in them are called vaults. But when the bottles break out of the vaults, they break sporadically. Sometimes this can lead them to spawn out of bounds, actually. Oh, wow. That's quite the kick this line just received there. One of the biggest downsides to fast, I meant to go over this earlier. One of the biggest downsides to fast is the game already has some slightly wonky hit detection in some areas, and fast just kind of amplifies that, unfortunately. But yeah. Anyway, as I was saying, they can like spawn out of bounds, like clip through the level sometimes. On very rare occasion, mind you, they can clip through the level, spawn out of bounds. They'll drop into water, which is still technically in bounds. However, you can't get to them because water is a hazard. Even if you don't die to it, you still can't go inside it. Alright.
Incredible! I never would have thought this was possible. Sir Augustine of Cooper's technique to briefly defy gravity. From now on, you should be able to pop right out of those bottomless pits you keep falling into, and you won't even lose a lucky charm.
Alright. So that was the page there. And here, because I already got the autosave for having opened the vault, I can just load the game before I have to get the autosave. Doesn't matter if I break the key or not. Now, I was a little bit slower there. I took off fast so I could hear the cycle in its entirety. Right here, we just do the cool super jump, and we're right at the end of the level. And once again here, we'll be doing the same concept. Be super jumping to the end of the level. Perfect. That one has been giving me some trouble recently, so I'm really glad that I remembered what I was doing wrong. It's always a good thing when you remember your faults and how to correct them.
This vehicle is identical to the one you found
Oh
in
boy,
Miss Lair.
that makes me happy. That makes me very, very happy. So that's completely random. We know what's up with that trick, why it happens, the mechanics and stuff to it. What we don't know is how to make it consistent, because there really isn't a way to make it consistent, unfortunately. But it's always good when you can get it really quickly like that. This level, oh boy. is all I got to say about this level. Going through it and getting the bottles, piece of cake. The MTS, however, is really cool. I love it. I have no bias, even though I found the strat. I still think it's the coolest strat in the game, bar none. And I'll show you guys why here in just a few minutes. We've done all of this shenanigans. So here we do a neat little super jump, skip having to do some intended platforming to get back up there. Now here, I'm gonna jump up here, and I'm gonna trigger that checkpoint. I'm gonna make sure I have four health points here, more than 0 lives here. And what that did was that set my checkpoint up there. And even though it's not gonna have any of these bottles that I'm about to collect in it, the bottles will stay even after you die. It's just a positional checkpoint in the level. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come back over here. I'm gonna get right about here. Here, rather. Come on, Carmelita, hit me. And I'm gonna have Carmelita shoot me. And considering she missed twice, and I had the charm, it probably didn't end up being faster. But I still wanted to show it off. I'm back up here, and it skipped having to run across the top of the platform, or the ceiling rather, rooftops of the little pagoda thing.
Enter the vault code. Multiple blood vessels burst in my brain while figuring this out.
For some reason, I could not remember the code for this this level. That was honestly more embarrassing than all the mess ups. Forgetting something I've done.
The king's lair. I'll upload the data straight into
A
your
whole
mobile
bunch.
intercom.
But normally, if you did this casually, that one would be the last one that you would get, and it would take you out of the level. Well, casually speaking, you're not allowed to unlock the last vault. You don't get the code, and Bentley says some wonky stuff, and you don't get the code until after you've defeated Clockwork. However, because we know all of the vault codes, every level's vault code is the exact same, even if the ability that you get from it is different. But we can do that early, and basically it would take us out of the level. Now here, we're gonna do an extremely long super jump chain. I'm gonna be quiet during this. Make sure I don't mess up any of these inputs. These do not reset your ground points, because if they did, you could potentially respawn, and or you could potentially take damage, get sent back to there, and die. But I do not need to super jump off of them. And if I did this right, we just complete the level. That makes me very, very happy. Very, very happy indeed.
What are you doing down there?
Well, I'm minding my post when I noticed this snow.
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah.
Myself, hey Murray, you gotta keep your energy up. So I hurry over here, and then all of a sudden,
Now,
monkeys are everywhere.
as I mentioned earlier, it's been so long ago.
Around this track for a key.
You could use the key. Think you can take 'em?
Come on, Sly, they're a pack of monkeys. How can I lose?
All right, remember.
Yeah, we had to do another race later,
Square to use any
and
Left. Keep clear of those icy patches.
this is that race. And I said that it would be not quite nearly as long as the last race. And, honestly, I feel it's better to let silly things speak for themselves, so... just casually ramp up and over the gate. Yeah, nothing too crazy, you know. Who needs to do a race to get to a gate when you could just, you know, bypass the whole thing? It's a little silly. I don't know. It probably makes me a little bit happier than it probably should, but ah well. If I'm not having fun, then no one's having fun. You know what I mean? Whole point's to have a good time. I might not have been having the greatest of times earlier, but like I promised you, you were at home. I would not make any more silly mistakes in World 4, and my knowledge, I don't believe I have made any mistakes. Pretty sure I played that. I might not have played it extremely cleanly. I don't know. I did get hit by the one karate kicking fox lady. She did get quite the hit in there on Sly. But we don't have to remember that one. We can strike that one from memory. This boss fight, sadly, this is one of the few places in the game that actually gets worse with 100% compared to the other categories. The other categories, there's a really cool skip you can do here, and theoretically you could do it in 100%. But it's a lot harder to do because you're doing the entire fight in double speed. And it requires very precise inputs, that trick, so, you know, doing extremely precise things at double the speed generally doesn't work out too well. So here, an unfortunate quirk that we have to deal with doing this vault last is we have to do this jump around the gate because the gate is back down. However, again, since we hit those fireworks, we can just spawn right back into the level here. Or spawn right back up here to the rooftop and we're good to go. Now here, all we gotta do is get the autosave for the vault, and we can just reset the game and skip the cutscene. We don't need to load the game, to skip the vault animation, and then let the cutscene play. We can just straight away skip it, and it skips it regardless. And now we'll be respawned right at the bottom of the level, or the base of the summit, rather. You know, it's the mountain we're ascending here. The reason this level is called a perilous ascent. We'll just respawn straight way down at the bottom again, and we'll be good to go. Do the Master Discipline. Now, you might have remembered me saying earlier that I wanted to jump on this sign to skip having to deal with a cutscene. However, I don't need to do that. I don't need to worry about that cutscene on the way back. However, I do have to worry about this guy, and like I said earlier with the MTSs, and as you've seen very clearly, lots of things can go wrong, and that enemy has some very questionable, to put it nicely, hitboxes. And I'd rather not deal with that and potentially die on any run, not just a marathon run. I do this in my PB attempts. I will get up on top of there to save some time, or I will lose some time rather to avoid having to die and potentially lose lots of time. And there we go. We're taking straight away back to the hideout because we have 100%ed everything except the last hub world.
Once you've unlocked them all, I've got a special behind the scenes movie
To show you.
Okay, partner.
If I remember correctly, that movie is It's a really silly movie. Bunch of like joke commercials for the original game that involved an actual raccoon. They're pretty funny. Pretty funny. But you know.
Bingo! My scanners indicate the clockwork is holed up in that owl-shaped tower. First things first, we've got hostile robo-falcons at 12 o'clock, Sly. That's no tower, it's a giant death ray. Sly, take out those rocks or we're in trouble.
Shoutouts to the Star Wars reference there. So this level, I kind of just went into the lull mode there, because this level is, there's not a whole lot to it. You do gotta focus a little bit on the Falcons. Make sure you don't miss any, but there's not a whole lot to this level to commentate on, so it's another level where I would be pretty quiet. These Falcons, I guess something too, it is somewhat worth mentioning. They always, the first ones always spawn in the same spot, so you can pre-fire the first couple of them, and then they do have a set pattern that they move in, depending on like how quickly you kill them. But generally, they'll always be in this little corner of the area, like that little portion of the screen that I was shooting. So if I just sit there and spin the thing wildly, I will hit them pretty quickly and pretty consistently. Here we have another minigame. This minigame is more or less, Bentley being weird. I don't know. We're crushing monitors for Mr. Murray, or for Mr. Murray. Crushing monitors for Bentley as Murray. That was really wonky. And we need to get 60 of them for these slugs. Get 60 of them. I affectionately call them Slugma, because Pokemon Slugma is a fire slug. These are literally fire slugs, so it's a little silly thing that I call them. I don't know. Unfortunately enough, I didn't actually come up with that as a child. It took me until the ripe old age of 21. That's considered old. Well, actually, I believe I was 20 when I actually came up with it, because it was around the time I started running. It was a few months into running, so I wasn't quite 21 yet. Huh, I've never seen that before. I was at 59 computers, and I broke 2 of them at the same time to get up to 60 and start the cutscene, and it kept me at 60. Normally, if you break one after this cutscene is over, it will, it'll put you, it'll like, kick up and whatnot. Silly to think that. Or silly to see that, rather. So here's what we were talking about. This trick in the game is the hardest trick in general across all the categories. It's called Bentley Skip, and what it does is it skips a pretty long cutscene that we'll be watching here shortly, and a hacking minigame with Bentley. However, I still need to enter that level, even though I skipped it. I still need to enter that level, and just enter it to get the percentage point for it. However, I don't get a percentage point for completing it. So I'm doing a little bit of a wonky route here to be as safe as possible. and doing Bentley skip first. Normally, it's faster to watch the cutscene and then do Bentley skip, enter the level, exit the level, and do Bentley skip afterwards. Normally, that's what you're supposed to do. However, be a little bit safer for the marathon. I'm changing up the route there just a little bit. It's not a huge time loss. It's at most 5 seconds. But what it allows me to do is it allows me to be a little bit safer and go for Bentley skip. And if I manage to fail it somehow, something horribly goes wrong and I get a good launch, but I still watch the cutscene, I can I get a second attempt at Bentley skip. I have to watch the cutscene anyway. And then what I can do is right there, normally there's a cutscene that plays there, and I have to load the game to skip that cutscene. I could just skip having to load the game to do that, and next time I enter that level, it will do the same thing, and I will skip the cutscene and be where I'm supposed to be at, and I will view map to there from here. Now the reason why I do that in that level, and not the level that I just did, Temporary Truce, where I was protecting Sly, is because I have to do a cutscene skip there that's somewhat precise, where I pause the game before the cutscene starts, and load the game and skip that cutscene. And I would have to do that twice, which is slowly ring up the pause menu and menuing twice. And I have to do that, and there's no reason to have to do that when I can just do it the one time. An interesting thing there to note, the reason why Bentley was kind of like blacked out there was because I'm playing on a backwards compatible PlayStation 3, which is the fastest way to run the game. And there we go. With that being the fastest way to run the game, it kind of wonks out in some places, unfortunately, and that's one of them. No! Well, everything was going fine for the last good bit. This level has a tendency to drop a lot of inputs and do inputs that you don't want the game to do. You'll press circle to, attempt to jump up onto something up here, and the game will just say, nope, you're gonna go back down underneath the lava and die. And the game has a tendency to do that quite frequently. Like I said, has a tendency to drop inputs. Alright, I'm just not gonna use fast here, and just bring this home. I am quite dissatisfied with this end time, but I want to do just the one take. I don't want to do multiple takes or anything like that. You only get one shot at a GDQ when you're in the event, and just a bunch of things go wrong. This has shown me that I need to perhaps increase my estimate a little bit more than I had initially intended to make it, which I will do, just on the off chance that all of these things that have gone wrong this time go wrong again. Because honestly, sometimes this stuff just happens. It is a little unfortunate. However, it doesn't blow up the runtime too much. We're right here at the very end of the run, so this is the last boss fight. All I have to do, fight Clockwork here, and we'll be done. And then hopefully, even though I will be as kind of a reactionary to having seen all of these things go wrong here, even though I'll be increasing my estimate, I won't need to use that. Hopefully my run will go a lot better. Should I be accepted? Here we've got a nice little cutscene between Sly and Clockwork here. Sly really lets Clockwork have it, and I really love the music in this boss fight.
I don't get it. You're so familiar with my family. You must have known my father had a son. If you hated the Coopers so much, why did you let me live when you stole the Thievius Raccoonus?
Because I wanted to show the world that without your precious book, the Cooper line was nothing.
Ah, well, there's where you're wrong. The Thievius Raccoonus doesn't create great thieves. It takes great thieves to create the Thievius Raccoonus.
Enough, Sly Cooper. It ends here. I will finish you like I finished your father. And the Cooper line will be erased and the only
This part right here is my favorite in the theme, so I'm gonna be a little bit quieter here too. Alright, so this second phase, Clockwork shoots 4 purple rings. There are 4 patterns that you can get. The patterns are random, however, it doesn't really affect anything too much. Except for that first quick hit where I almost got all the necessary damage. Otherwise, the remaining 3 are easy. One thing to note about these purple rings, though, is that they can bounce back off the camera and come back on screen and deal lots of damages to you, which is bad. And by lots of damages, I mean it kills you because, you know, one-hit kill game. But we didn't have that happen. Luckily, we didn't have to deal with that too. So since I don't have a charm here, and I don't really want to die again. Honestly, I'm not gonna risk a very small time-saving strat, and instead I'm going to do this the casual way and have the game drop yet another input. Well, this is still gonna be under what I was gonna change my estimate to anyway. I was initially gonna have my estimate to be 2 hours. Give myself extra time, or to give myself some time to allow for some silly mistakes. And then this run has shown me that anything and everything can go wrong in a no reset run. So yes, I'm just gonna have to just deal with it and go from there. So that cutscene doesn't have to play again because we watched it. However, if I had chosen to load the game there, the cutscene would have respawned. So I decided to let myself watch. I decided to watch the death animation because that's a lot shorter than watching that really long cutscene again. Alright. Here we go again. Anyway, what I'm changing my estimate to is 2:05. To allow 5 extra minutes for nonsense to occur in every possible place of the run.
feet together.
But here we go. We're almost at the end. Gotta jump up here and loudly beat Clockwork's head in. And there you have it. You have Sly Cooper, the Thievius Raccoonus 100%. I'm gonna lower this volume here. This cutscene is very, very loud. Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus 100%. Unfortunately, in not sub 2 hours. That was very, very poor showing. But you know, sometimes these things happen. I don't have too much else to say on it. You know,
I know
I
that he's got more heart than
I'm a firm believer in,
thank
you know,
goodness
when
for
it
that.
comes to,
Without
you
his
know,
expertise,
things like
I would've
this.
never found my
I want it to be as, you know, accurate and, you know, attuned to the marathon setting as possible. So I'm not gonna sit here and do, you know, countless takes to do this. Regardless of if I had the time to sit here and do countless takes, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna sit here and get something that's, you know, prim and proper and pampered and things like that. I want the true raw experience, and I'm gonna be, you know, changing my estimate reflection, or to reflect this this run that unfortunately had a lot of things happen. It's really opened my eyes to, you know, just how much can go wrong uh, in a 100% run. Um, I've never had such an awful run before. It's been a very long time since I've had so many things go wrong in a successful chain like that. It is rather unfortunate. However, like I said, you know, these things happen, and yeah, like I said, I'll be changing my estimate to reflect that, and that's just how it is sometimes. Um, Hopefully, I'll play better overall, and have less input drops in opportune spaces to you know, during the event should 100% be accepted. And yeah, that's mostly all I have to say about that. Thank you for watching my video and considering Sly Cooper and the Thebes Raccoonus 100% for GDQ. I guess that's it for me. I'll be signing out. Take care, folks.